Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and I'm bringing you guys my Week 4 Battle for the UBC season number 6? 5? I can never remember. But a few quick things before we hop into it. This is the first recording I'm doing in my new apartment, so hopefully everything sounds okay. I don't really know how the acoustics in my new room work quite yet, and I also don't know how soundproof my room is, so I'm gonna have to figure out how loud I'm allowed to be and things like that. And there's also a train that runs somewhat close to my house. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it in the videos or not. It just went by as I said that, which was a good reminder for me. Luckily, it doesn't seem to blow its horns or anything like that as it passes my house. It just drives by and kind of shakes a little. So as far as trains go, it's pretty nice. When I was a freshman in college, I lived right next to a train, and that was always blasting off at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was absurd. And so yeah, so bear with me. This video, I'll probably put it up on Saturday like I've been doing, but I should have my P4G action up yesterday on Friday. But it's funny because I haven't played that game yet. It's Wednesday night as I'm recording this, or sorry, Tuesday night. I'm playing P4G on Wednesday night. And so we'll see how that recording goes, but it should be fun. I haven't done any prep or anything yet, so Carson, you probably don't have the option to scout this, but just know that I'm very ill prepared for the P4G match that we're about to have. But anyway, we are going up against OmegaJolteon and his Chicago Carracostas, and let's quickly look at his roster. He's got Mew, Infernape, Thunderous T, Superior, Nihilego, Alolan Ninetales, Persian, Alolan, Alolan Persian, whatever, Jellicent, Shelgon, Mega Aerodactyl, Metang, and Munchlax. So, very good team. It's got 12 Mons on it, which is rare for this league. I feel like most teams have 10 or 11. So it's nice that he was able to fill out his roster, and he got a bunch of good value picks with getting some not fully evolved Pokemon like Shelgon and Metang and Munchlax and stuff like that. He's got a lot of great offensive threats, like Nape plus Thunderous is really good. Mew is just such a problem for my team. I hate it. He can go for, I guess Calm Mind sets are usually what you think of with Mew, but I think actually a Bulk Up set would be really dirty versus me. Because I have Crawdaunt, which one is outsped by Mew, even if I'm Jolly, which is a bummer. But two, I do hit it with Knockoff, so if he's got Colbur plus Bulk Up, he can easily get to +2 without being 2-hit KO'd, and then he can just roost up, and eventually be able to sweep my whole team. So definitely is an issue. And he could just run what I was really worried about in prep was Bulk Up plus Heal Bell plus Drain Punch plus Leech Life. That hits pretty much my whole team. I guess Hawlucha is able to resist those in combination, but Hawlucha's not bulky, and if it's going for if the Mew's going for bulk ups, obviously Hawlucha can't hit it back at all, so that's a problem. He could do some again with Infernape and Thunderous, do some Volt Turn shenanigans that would be really obnoxious. So yeah, he just has a lot of offense, and we haven't even talked about Mega Arrow. Mega Arrow is obviously a beast, and so yeah. On my end, the first thing that I recognize is that he doesn't have very many rock resists. He has just the Metang and the Nidoqueen. So, I'm thinking that Nihilego has the opportunity to put in some work here, which is nice. He doesn't have many answers to Zygarde besides Superior. I guess Mew is used as a pretty good Zygarde check in OU as well. So, he could bring a bulky Mew or some combination of a fat Mew, fat Serp, or maybe one's slightly offensive and can check offensively. And then Swords Dance Crawdaunt actually looks pretty decent if I can get rid of Serp. And because Serp is pressured by Zygarde and by Bulu, I think that we have an opportunity to make that work. If I could just get damage on to Mew, and because it's gonna go for Wisp versus me, and I can hit it up with a knockoff, or even an Aqua Jet. An Aqua Jet would be great if I can just hit that up. Maybe I set up on a Jellicent that's trying to Wisp me, I can knock that out with knockoff, and then the Mew comes in and I hit it with Aqua Jet. So we'll have to see exactly how that works. I'm going to quickly go through the team. We'll hop into the battle, and then we do have some transactions that we made going into week 5 that I'll discuss after the video. So make sure you stay tuned for that. We've made a lot of changes to the team. A lot of members are going to be saying goodbye. So without further ado, let's just hop onto the team builder. We do have, as I mentioned, Swords Dance Crawdont with Taunt, Aqua Jet, and Knockoff. Taunt is just kind of nice as a move for stuff like Jellicent or Munchlax to prevent them from doing annoying things to me. Curselax is potentially a problem for me. Snorlax with Curse was a problem for me in week 1, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that again. The spread here is enough to outspeed Nidoqueen by several points. He could be putting a little bit of speed onto that thing. So if we want to go for a knockoff versus it, we can feel relatively safe. Aqua Jet obviously does a lot of damage to it anyway, but that's just what's going on with that. I'm having Assault Vest Bulu with Horn Leech, Stone Edge, Mega Horn, Nature's Madness. This is my response to the combination of Thundurus plus Superior. The only crappy thing is that our grassy terrain is going to boost the leaf storms. I couldn't remember what that damn move was called for a second. But on the bright side, I am expecting a defensive Serp, so it's not like he can really abuse it too badly. Like, obviously it would be better. I was thinking about like AV Entei in this slot instead, but I just felt like a slightly too vulnerable to Serp, or not to Serp, to Thundy if I did that. And then, you know, having the Bulu is also nice for like pressuring the other members of his team, like I mentioned, like because it invites in the Superior and the Metang. That's nice for my Crawdont and also for my Nihilego that I'll have here in a moment. So that's the Bulu set. This is enough speed for an uninvested Mew, and then we put a decent bit of bulk in here and stuff like that. We have another Scarf Hawlucha set this week, very similar to last week. This is enough to outspeed a Alolan Persian, High Jump Kick, Stone Edge, U-Turn, Toxic. Toxic's just there in case we desperately need it for a setup Mew. But otherwise, like, his team doesn't do that well versus this coverage. Scarf Hawlucha is nice because it outspeeds potential Scarfers like Infernape, Thundurus. It also outspeeds Aerodactyl. It outspeeds a Scarf Ninetales, which is very threatening versus this team that I've brought. So just pretty normal stuff. I mean, not normal in the sense that the moveset's not that exotic. I guess Scarf Hawlucha is not necessarily normal because you usually expect like the Unburdened sets. But anyway, we have an Assault Vest Slowbro in our next slot here. This is my dedicated Infernape check with Scald, Ice Beam, Flamethrower, and Shadow Ball. With max HP, we put enough special attack into this thing that we can kill a Infernape with Scald after rocks, guaranteed. And then Assault Vest was my item of choice because he could be running like a Fire Blast, Focus Blast set with Nasty Plot. I know that he gets, the Infernape gets Grass Knot as coverage, so it just allows us to be prepared for any variant of Infernape. Infernape is a mon that's blown me back in the past, and so I'm glad I have probably the best counter in the game to it in Slowbro. So that's nice. Next, we do have a Specs Nihilego with Rocks, Knockoff, Psychic, and Power Gem. As I mentioned, Power Gem is almost unresistant on his team. It's just his Nidoqueen and his Metang that resist this. And so Psychic is there to hit the that thing, the Nidoqueen, and the Knockoff is nice for getting rid of Eviolite on Metang, as well as on Munchlax, as well as on Shelgon. Like, he just has a lot of Eviolite users, which makes him very vulnerable to Knockoff, so that's nice. And then Rocks I put on here because I obviously didn't have any other mons that could learn Rocks on my team that I'm bringing this week. So we are bringing another speed boosting set, just because like this thing can snowball, right? It's like if you're going up against a Scarf Serp. Like, once it starts getting special attack boosts, it's just kind of hard to slow it down. So that's what I'm thinking here. I just need to get his team whittled, like get rid of the Nidoqueen and get chip on things like Mew and Munchlax and stuff like that. And last but not least, we have a special Zygarde with Yachi Berry, Cord Forcer, Sludge Wave, Earth Power, Dragon Tail. Because I am expecting the Serp to be his switch into Zygarde, I thought a special set made sense. I almost brought a Poisonium Z Zygarde with Glare, and the thinking would be that the Superior switches in, we Glare it so that if he was speed creeping with it, it would be outsped by us. Then we can blow it back with an Acid Downpour, and because I'm expecting a fully Fizz Def one, it does like 85% to that sort of spread, so it would be really nice. Core Enforcer is really good Dragon Stab. He doesn't have a Fairy on his team, and his only steal is Matang. Oh, sorry, he does have Ninetales, so forget what I just said. He doesn't have very good Dragon Resists, or at least not many of them. I guess not, most teams don't, so, I don't blame him for that, but just saying. So yeah, I think this is a good lure, and again, like, if I can get rid of the Superior, that really clears the way for Crawdaunt, which would be pretty nice. Or at least he's going to be pressured into using other counters to deal with Crawdaunt if we're able to snipe that. So enough with the team builder and all of the preamble. Let's go on to the battle, and as you can see, OmegaJolteon's brought Shelgon, Munchlax, Mew, Nidoqueen, Superior, and Infernape. So he brought 2 Eviolite users, so I am glad that I have the knockoff on 2 Mons. Mew is obviously a huge threat. I'm really worried about setup sets. He might be inclined to have a defensive Mew, but I just don't think that that's necessarily, like, it's good versus me, but it's not the best of the possible sets. And he does have the Serp there. Again, I'm thinking that Serp is probably going to be defensive on the physical side. So in terms of leads, I'm not sure what I led with. I think, well, let's just get right into it, and we'll see how it goes. So he leads with Nidoqueen. Ah, yes, I remember. So he had lead with Slowbro, thinking being that it leads pretty well versus like 5 of the 6 members of his team. It doesn't lead great versus Serp, and it gets Munchlax. Like, Munchlax doesn't immediately threaten me, but the fact that Munchlax does have option to set up is scary, but I have ways to deal with that. In retrospect, I could have put Dragon Tail on this thing. That might have been pretty nice. But I'm going to just click Scald turn 1. Like, it's pretty free. If he wants to go Serp, I do have my Tapu Bulu to switch into that thing. So that's got to be my play if he chooses to respond with that. He just sets up his rocks. And I am going to go for a Scald, and I do a little more than 50%. So this does reveal that this is a Spadef Nidoqueen, which makes a lot of sense for my Nihilego. So I'm going to have to get that thing to like 20% or so in order to be able to take it down with Power Gem. Even with my specs, it just doesn't do all that much damage. So he goes into the Munchlax here, and I want to immediately go to Crawdaunt because I do have Taunt. And I can prevent this thing from setting up. I'm not too worried about him going for a return. If he does choose to go for it, he is burned, so it's only going to do like 25-30% damage to me. But I mostly just want to get this thing in here and prevent it from doing stuff. So in anticipation of my taunt or my knockoff or whatever, he does go into his Serp, and Serp is now taunted. And I'm going to go into my Bulu, as I explained earlier. This is my best way of dealing with the Superior here. He does get a crit, which is a little annoying, but I don't think it makes a huge difference, I guess. So, because I think, like, he still wouldn't be, like, I'm not in range of being KO'd by anything. He can't, like, reasonably have Hidden Power Poison, because it just makes him walled too hard by, like Zygarde makes a pretty good check to him if he's got that. Entei is a pretty good check to that. Stakataka as well can kind of check. And really, like, he's probably going to want something like Hidden Power Ice in order to hit Zygarde as hard as possible. And Nihilego can also tank if needed, if it doesn't have, if he's got Hidden Power Poison. So anyway, point being, he doesn't put me in range of anything, so it's not that huge a deal. It's just, a little annoying because I always, this season, do seem to have a little bad luck. But you always seem to have bad luck when you're losing, so you never notice the good luck when you're winning. It's always your next level 200 IQ plays when you're when you're winning. It's never because you have good luck. But anyway, we're going to get healed up here. He is going to throw off a second Leaf Storm, which makes sense. He's going to get another boost off of that. And I am going to follow with a Mega Horn. And this thing is pretty close to fully Fizz Def based on the damage that this just took. Which is, again, right in line with what I expected. Because it's taunted, this is nice. He cannot recover at all. And so it's a tough play. Like, do I want to try and pivot out of here? Or do I just want to let my Bulu go down and then threaten him out with my next Mon? I am going to stay in here and I'm going to click Mega Horn. Like, there's always the chance that he can go into something like Shelgon. Like, Shelgon kind of seems like a good check to Bulu because it's fat, it's got Eviolite, it's got Wish and stuff like that. But he does just go for the hidden power and take me out. And it's super effective. I am expecting that this is Ice, but we shall see. But now the only crappy thing about Bulu is that the grassy terrain boosts him up to like almost half health. So anyway, I go into my Nihilego because I'm pretty sure that I'm going to outspeed. I don't think this thing has any speed investment. And we can threaten him out, you know, just based on the possible Sludge Wave. But I don't have Sludge Wave, obviously. So we'll have to see what he chooses to go into. He does go into the Munchlax as I fire off a Power Gem. And so, once again, the grassy terrain is going to hurt me more than it helps me because it gives him a little bit of recovery, neutralizes his burn damage. But I am expecting his rest here, which is a little bit of a problem. So I think I go into Crawdaunt once again. Because then I could taunt or at least threaten the knockoff or whatever. So now Mew comes out here. I don't know if he was expecting my Crawdaunt switch or you know, he thought Mew was a pretty comfortable switch into another Power Gem. Or maybe he was expecting me to go into Hawlucha. And because Hawlucha, you know, can threaten the Munchlax if it doesn't have any curse boosts. Maybe that's what it was. That makes more sense. So the Mew's in here. I do have Lumberry. And I think I might just stay in here and click Knockoff. Because I don't really have a pivot into this thing, to be honest. So I do go for a Knockoff. That might have telegraphed to him that I am Lumberry. But he goes into his Superior, and he actually doesn't get knocked off. He doesn't have any item. So this is a no-item Superior. I love doing this for Mons that get knockoff, like in terms of countering them. Like, no item is a great way of dealing with that. Like, I think it was UBC Season 3, I ran a no-item Amoonguss to deal with a Crawdaunt. And it worked extremely well, and it seems like this Superior is in the same boat. Knockoff would have totally killed it if it had been holding an item, but it is not. So anyway, I don't have a switch into Superior really anymore. If he wants to go for Leaf Storm, Hawlucha does resist it. It takes like 35% from an uninvested Superior. And he might also just end up going for Synthesis, which is, as we're about to see, is exactly what he does. So getting some chip on this damage, getting some chip on this Mon, as I mentioned, is extremely important for just the entirety of my team. Either Crawdaunt or Nihilego needs this thing weakened in order to sweep. So I'm hoping that I can make that work. Pretty sure I just click U-turn here, as he does go into his Mew, which makes a lot of sense. We get a crit, which is annoying for him. It does reveal that this is a pretty physically invested Mew. So not only does he have Fat Serp, but he's got Fat Mew. And it seems like he's got a fully Spit Def Nidoqueen. He's got a Cursed Munchlax. The Shelgon, I'm assuming, is bulky. So he's got a fat-ass team. So I'm going to have a difficult time breaking this. I'm going to have to find some way to get a Swords Dance off with Crawdaunt or do something in order to break through this core. But the Mew is here. My Crawdaunt, of course, it doesn't outspeed. It could never outspeed Mew. He is probably fearing knockoff. I think that's just what I click again. I don't know if he's gonna go back into Serp. I think actually there might be a double here. Let's see what we do. So he switches out as I do make a double into Nihilego. So yeah, so going expecting the Serp to come in, I do make the double into Nihilego. But he does bring in his Shelgon. And so on this turn, I'm not 100% sure what I do. I think I just go for no, I go into Hawlucha. because I wanted to scout for Earthquake. That was the reasoning there, because obviously Nihilego doesn't appreciate Earthquake, even from a mon like Shelgon that doesn't have a ton of attack. So I wanted to scout for that, and Halicho would have been immune, but he does go for Wish, so this is a little bit problematic for me, because I don't want him healing up things like his Mew or his Serp, especially not his Nidoqueen. Like, that would be the worst. So I am just going to go for a U-turn, and I'm relieved to see that he leaves his Shelgon in here. And I bring in my Zygarde, thinking that, you know, I can reasonably take any move he wants to go for. He does go for Dragon Pulse, which is not really what I was expecting, but I guess I don't know what I was expecting instead. It makes sense that he would go for Dragon Pulse. We take it relatively well. The reason I brought in Zygarde is because I want to like start to figure out what his primary switching is going to be. Is it going to be the Serp or is it going to be the Mew? And in either case, I do want to go for a Dragon Tail and try and phase it out here. And as we do that, his wish comes true. He's back at full health. He actually stays in and goes for a Dragon Pulse, and as you're going to see, my Dragon Tail misses. So very unfortunate. This probably would have done, you know, maybe like 40% or so, and they would have shuffled him around. I'm less disappointed about not getting the shuffling around because he didn't switch into one of his counters. But you know, just not having the damage on this thing is a big bummer. Like, it makes me wish I had just gone for Core Enforcer. You're going to see here on this turn, I go for Core Enforcer, and I do 99%. I counted during the battle. This was a high roll, so like it's not like I missed out on a KO potentially. I mean, I did. Like, I could have gotten a max roll and killed, but you know, you can't complain that you didn't get a max roll. That's totally fine. But yeah, I just wish I had clicked for Core Enforcer twice, because he didn't have a resist anyway, right? Like, if he goes into Serp I think is at like 63%, and that should 2-hit KO if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna do a quick calc to see that, but I guess, you know, I could have done Core Enforcer into Sludge Wave, and that would have, yeah, that definitely 2 shots superior. And he would have gone for HP Ice, but HP Ice is weakened by my Yachi Berry. So yeah, I mean, obviously hindsight's 20/20. If I had known I was gonna miss, I of course wouldn't have clicked Dragon Tail. There's no way I could have known that though. But Core Enforcer was like a total no drawback play, and so I screwed the pooch, and he's gonna be able to kill my Zygarde with a Dragon Pulse. It's not every day that you see a Shelgon take out a Zygarde. Not happy to be on the losing end of that exchange. So we're down 4-6, and I'm not feeling that great. But we do have the Nihilego here. I could click Power Gem, but I am expecting the Nidoqueen to come in here. If he wants to go into Serp is 2-hit KO'd by Psychic, if I'm not mistaken. I can check real quick. And yes, it was definitely 2-hit KO'd. And Munchlax was also 2-hit KO'd because it has a burn, and after the burn damage, it would probably get 2-hit KO'd. And I guess the only thing that Psychic doesn't cover is potential switch into Mew. But anyway, I think all around that Psychic was my best play, and he is going to go into the Nidoqueen and get sniped off by my Psychic. So that's pretty nice. Nihilego collecting a kill. First kill of the battle for me, which is great. Now he's going to go into his Munchlax, and again, I think that this is a good opportunity for him to go for a rest. And so I'm going to go into my Hawlucha, because I can get in here pretty much for free, and I can threaten the high jump kick. Pretty sure I just go for a U-turn, as he decides to sack off his Shelgon, which was probably the right play. I guess he could have also gone into Mew, but you know, the nice thing about sacking off his Shelgon is that, you know, because I did click U-turn, he does the opportunity to get the momentum here. I go into my Nihilego because at this point, I'm kind of thinking that the Infernape is Scarf. That's kind of like, that kind of makes sense to me. He wants a way, like, he would want a way to revenge kill a +1 Zygarde, so he could be rocking with Infernape with HP Ice. It also allows him to revenge kill, I don't know, Scarf Bulu, Jolteon, things like that. So I wanted to bait in the Infernape to, one, get that information, and then, you know, I have a very safe switch into Slowbro on Infernape. So that's kind of my thought process with going into Nihilego here. He goes into his Munchlax once again. I'm going to knock this thing off because this thing is just too much of a problem to not have to leave the Eviolite on there. He is going to draw the Curse, which allows him to gain all of that bulk. But now I feel very good going into Hawlucha, like just like about 80% minimum with a high jump kick to like the standard spread on the damage calc. So I just need him to not draw another Curse, and I should be good. It'd also probably be bad if he drew a return. Maybe in retrospect, this was a risky switch. Maybe I should have gone into something else like Slowbro. Really wishing I'd put Dragon Tail on Slowbro. That would have been the right thing to do. But anyway, I do luck out here, and he gets rest. So I get through off a fat high jump kick here. As you're going to see, it does like 78%. So that's kind of a mid roll, but I don't know that I could have gotten a roll that would have KO'd just based on his spread. But because this did such a tremendous amount of damage, I am expecting him to want to pivot out here. So I'm thinking Mew's going to come in, so I am going to go into Crawdaunt. And that's exactly what happens here. And so on this is kind of a pivotal turn because this Mew is at 65%. If my Crawdaunt goes for knockoff, it's probably going to do about 35-40% to Mew. He might want to go for a Will-O-Wisp, but because I do have the Colbur Berry, that allows me to not be burned. Let me just check this real quick. Colbur Berry. Yeah, so knockoff does 39% minimum. So knockoff plus Aqua Jet does not take out this Mew. So I'm knowing this, I'm actually a little bit more comfortable with the play that I made. So I am thinking that the Serp's going to come back in, and Serp is like very much a problem for me right now. I don't have any way to really take it out from the range of HP that it's at, and I don't think I even have anything that can like two-shot it. So I'm just trying to find a way to catch that thing and do as much damage as possible. So I'm going to go into my Nihilego once again, expecting the Serp, just because that's my, it's choice specs. It's the mon that could do the most damage on my team right now. He's going to go for the Wisp, and this is actually really good on his end. Like at this point, like he knows that Nihilego, it could potentially be an issue for him, but because it's burned, now he can basically stall this thing out with all the mons with recovery on his team. So if he had stayed in, like if I had stayed in, he would have whisked my Crawdaunt, and he would have been able to basically survive. I guess it depends all on rolls and stuff. And even then, like trading the Mew for the Crawdaunt is pretty good. Like I still have nothing to beat Serp in that case, which is a little bit of a bummer. But now that my Nihilego's on a timer, it really puts me in a tough spot. I just gotta figure a way to deal with the Serp. If I can deal with the Serp, I think Crawdaunt can still sweep with a +2 Sword Stance. I just go for Power Gem because I'm kind of at a loss of what else to do. And like a crit obviously would be really nice here, but I guess now crit's only like 4% or something like that, 4.25%. But it is what it is. He is going to go into his Munchlax, which takes a chunk. I'm not going to. I don't think I sack off my Nihilego just yet. No, I do. I go for a Power Gem once again. Because at this point, like, Nihilego is not all that useful. He's able to take me out with the return. Nice Munchlax getting a kill. So far, he's got 2 Eviolite Mons with 2 kills. So that feels bad, man. So on this turn, like, this is really tough. I don't know what Mon exactly I want to go into. Like, I can get the kill with pretty much anything on the team, right? Like, if I go into Hawlucha, I can high jump kick, but then he's got his Mew as an easy switch in. If I go into Slowbro, he's got Superior as an easy switch in after I kill this Munchlax. And then he's also got the same thing for Crawdaunt. He can go into Superior if I go into Crawdaunt. So, to be honest, it's sort of looking a little like checkmate. I don't really know like what plays I could make to set myself up for victory here. Like, the only thing I can do is like get a Sword Stance sweep with Crawdaunt. So probably the play I make here is a mistake. I do go into Crawdaunt. Like, the thought here being, I I don't really know what the thought here was. It was just a tough situation. I guess I could have gone into Slowbro, and Slowbro could go for the combination of Scald plus Ice Beam, and like Scald takes out the Munchlax, and then Serp comes in. Because I am Assault Vest, I can actually take one. I can take one Leaf Blade with ease, and then potentially like 2-shot with Ice Beam, or at least put him in range of Hawlucha. And maybe that was the play, because then if the Serp is in range of Hawlucha, I could Revenge it, and then Crawdaunt can potentially sweep if it gets up a Swords Dance. But obviously that's not what I did, and I don't even think it really would have worked that well. Like, he could just save his Serp, and Serp can just then come in, like he can sack something, bring it in on Crawdaunt, and go for Synthesis, and be at a range of HP where he can no longer be killed by Hawlucha. So, like I said, I think it's sort of checkmate here. I'm going to knock off this Munchlax, so Crawdaunt collects a kill. It's pretty nice. Serp's going to come in. You know, what button do I click? Doesn't matter. He's going to click Leaf Storm. Even if I got into Hawlucha, Hawlucha's 2-KO'd by any combination of moves from Superior, and I'm not able to one-shot it with anything. I do go into Hawlucha now, and I actually, you know, am able to get off a nice U-turn onto this Mew. I bring in my Slowbro. I still can't 1v1 this Mew. Like, so I go for Ice Beams, maybe hoping for freezes. Although, because the Mew has Synchronize, my Slowbro would get frozen. I have Scald to thaw myself, but then Scald would thaw the Mew, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Like, there's no way that I could have really pulled this off. But he is going to go into the Infernape on my predicted Ice Beam, which is kind of a curious play. Luckily, I guess he doesn't know that I'm packing the Assault Vest, because he goes for Grass Knot. I take that with ease. I take like 40%, able to easily kill it back with Scald. So at least now it's looking like it's only going to be a 2-0. But the Superior does come in here, kills my Slowbro, and the Hawlucha, like I mentioned, is not strong enough to kill the Serp. Even if we get a crit max roll, I think we need like literally the top roll in order to kill a max Fizz Def Superior. So that ends up cleaning up the game for him, and it's a pretty close 2-0. So I have a few regrets in this game. The playing around with the Zygarde earlier was a little bit of a bummer. Like, if I had just gotten some damage off on the Shelgon, I could have had that thing later in the game to lure in this Superior, which ended up being a huge problem for my team. The play with the Crawdaunt versus the Mew, I don't really regret it, because he had a decent shot of living knockoff plus Aqua Jet, but that might have been my best chance for getting rid of the Mew. And then in the end game there, like, maybe there was a path to victory for me with the Crawdaunt if I had brought it in later instead of bringing it in immediately on Munchlax. But again, I think at that point it was too little too late. But overall, like, I feel like I made some nice doubles. I made a few predictions. I still didn't spend enough time team building, but I think that the team that I brought was decent. Like, the Lure Zygarde was really nice. The Specs Nihilego, I think, was good. I was proud of the AV Slowbro. So, you know, we're 0-4. It's not great, but it is what it is. And we are making some transactions, like I explained, and I think I'm going to end up enjoying the new team a bit more than I did the old team. So why don't I switch back to the Team Builder tab, and I can show you guys what changes we made. So lots and lots of changes. So let me tell you what we're keeping here. So we are keeping Zygarde. We are keeping Nihilego. We are keeping Entei. We are keeping Jolteon. And that is it. We are getting rid of these, like, all the rest of my Mons. So that means Tapu Bulu, Fortress, Hawlucha, Stakataka, Crawdaunt, and Slowbro. Those 6 are all gone. And I'm sad to see some of those mons go. Like, Bulu has long been one of my favorite mons, but it just didn't function well on this team, which is a little bit of a bummer. Like, it was pressured into being a little too defensive, and it's easy to take advantage of defensive Bulu. I'm also a big fan of Slowbro. I brought Slowbro 4 games in a row, and it's a good mon for being just a good defensive backbone. Like, it's just so fat, and it's hard to kill, and it's got great typing and a great ability, but it is what it is. The rest of the mons I'm not that broken up about. But anyway, we were able to accomplish this roster change by making 2 trades and then making 3 free agent transactions. So I talked to Alright Cap, who is the coach of the Toronto Swa Blue Jays, and he told me that he really wanted Tapu Bulu. And so he was offering up 3 mons for Tapu Bulu, and I will show you guys. One of those is regular Scizor, another one of those is Pangoro, and then the last one was Cloyster. And so Scizor was really nice for me because it's very powerful like Tapu Bulu is. It's got a really good attack stat. It's got the option to remove hazards with defog, which is nice. What I really wanted was U-turn. And so U-turn is nice because Scizor is a Pokemon that lures in steel types. And what Pokemon on my team that I already have destroys steel types? We have Zygarde. So it seems like a really potent core that we can take advantage of. Pangoro has long been a favorite mon of mine ever since I used it in UBC Season 2 to win the championship. We're going to be naming this the Gun Show. This thing is really powerful. Hawlucha I liked, but it's just not powerful. Like without any sort of boosting, like, you know, Swords Dance or Choice Band or whatever. Pangoro has a little bit more immediate power, which I like. It's a little bit faster than my other Dark type, which was Crawdaunt. So it's still only speed ties with base 100s. But at least it has the opportunity to speed tie, whereas Crawdaunt couldn't even outspeed a Mew with a max speed Jolly Nature. And then this thing also has some momentum opportunities with Parting Shot, which I really like. So Pangoro is very neat. Scizor is going to be Tony Stark. I do have Mega Scizor in the P4G, and I'm having a blast using that thing. So I'll be glad to have regular Scizor on the team. And Cloyster, I had this for a short time in UBC Season 2. I don't remember what I nicknamed it, but it'll probably have the same nickname as what it was back then. So anyway, this left me with a few too many. Like, I didn't have enough points to have all the mons that I had on my team at that point. Because I traded Tapu Bulu and I gained 3 mons. So that's when I dropped like Crawdaunt, Slowbro, and Stakataka. And there's 3 mons that we picked up. So the first mon that we ended up picking up was Mega Steelix. And so I didn't have a Mega on my team yet, and I felt like I really wanted a Mega just because Megas are great in general. Steelix was a good choice because it gives me a Steel type that is makes it very potent versus Flying types, versus Fairy types. You know, all the good things about Steel types that you like. And then having a Steel/Ground type is really nice in combination with Zygarde because it gives me something that can pivot in pretty easily to HP Fire. Or not HP Fire, HP Ice. Because obviously it hits that thing 4 times super effectively, but it does not hit Steelix for any super effective damage. It only hits it neutrally. And then the ability to have another way to deal with Volt Switch is always really good. I hate dealing with Volt Turn cores. And Steelix is just one of my favorite mons in general. We're going to be naming this guy Iroquois. He is going to be shiny, and he is going to be a beast. Like, this thing is just so hard to kill. It's a really reliable hazard setter. You can run some cool sets with Rest Talk and stuff like that. So that is the Steelix. Next up, we are picking up a good old friend of mine, Reuniclus. And Reuniclus is going to be named Clostridium, because that's what it's always been named for me. I liked having Slowbro, but Reuniclus is just so much more threatening because it has this ability Magic Guard. It's got a really huge special attack stat, and it's got options for setup like Trick Room, Calm Mind, and all sorts of great things. So whereas you can like Toxic a Slowbro to wear it down, you can't do that to Reuniclus. And then you can also combine this with Life Orb just to give it so much attacking power. It's really great. It's also got, you know, neat support moves like Thunder Wave. It's got Explosion, which is pretty funny. So if I wanted to like Trick Room into Steelix, for example, I could Trick Room and then Explode and then give my Steelix 3 turns. Not that Steelix is like the most offensive mon that I have, but like maybe a better example is Pangoro. I can do that a little bit more effectively. But yeah, this mon is just great. It's got great defenses, boosted off of its huge HP stat. I like bringing the John Reuniclus sets that are the Regenerator with AV. It's got like a 248 HP and 252 defense. You know, something like that is pretty nice. It just soaks hits. It's so hard to kill this thing. It's ridiculous. You need a very powerful Dark type or a very powerful Bug type to kill this. I guess a Ghost type as well, but Ghost types are so rare that I don't really think that much about them. We're also going to be picking up Whimsicott, which we're going to be naming Afro-Man. This is another throwback to a previous team that I had. I had this on my PMC D-League team. I had a lot of great mons on that team. But Whimsicott gives me a grass type. It gives me that same grass fairy typing that I had with the Tapu Bulu, which is not a great typing, but the nice thing about Whimsicott is that it's a whole lot naturally faster, so you don't have to necessarily worry about getting caught off guard by hidden power poisons as much. And we also have Prankster, which gives us a sort of artificial speed boost, which is really nice. And then this thing gets, you know, all the great support moves. You guys know all about it. It gets Encore, it gets Memento, it gets, as you see, Cotton Guard here, and, you know, it gets Stun Spore. All sorts of cool stuff. So, and don't sleep on offensive Whimsicott. Like, Whimsicott is not a bad attacker, because it does have that nice speed tier, and, you know, with moves just like Moonblast that are pretty powerful, it can do work. And it's kind of unfortunate I don't have a terrain setter or something else on my team. Nature Power Whimsicott is pretty cheeky. If I were like and if I had this on a Sun team, I could use this with Sun to make it Fire, and that'd be really nice. Fire coverage is really great in combination with Grass and Fairy, but you know, I digress. So that is this mon, and so that left me, you know, they gave me 2 points to spare, and the only other mon I had left was Fortress. And I knew I really wanted to get rid of Fortress because I already had Scizor as a Bug Steel. I had Cloyster with Rapid Spin and Spikes. And I just wanted something that was more offensive. I didn't have any free agent moves, though, which put me in a little bit of a bad position. So I talked to my good buddy Scoot, a.k.a. Zamcrow. I guess he does it the other way around. It's Zamcrow, a.k.a. Scoot. And I asked him if he'd be interested in any of the mons on my team, and he did say that Fortress intrigued him, so he did me a huge favor, and I want to thank him for it. He said that he'd be willing to drop his Skarmory and pick up a mon for me, and then he would immediately trade that mon to myself for Fortress. And so that mon that he picked up is going to be Swellow, and Swellow is awesome. It got a huge buff this gen with the special attack boost going up to 75. And of course, that's not much on its own, but everybody knows that Boom Burst is just such a devastating move when combined with choice specs. And the best thing about Swellow is that it doesn't necessarily have to run this Boom Burst set. It can run a set with Guts and Flame Orb, and just run stuff like Brave Bird, Facade, and in U-turn, and it's very hard to switch into. So that's extremely nice. It's in a, like I said, a really great speed tier. Gives me a lot of mons above base 100 now. So I've got Nihilego at 103, Jolteon at 130, Afro-Man, aka Whimsicott, at 116, and Swellow at 125. And then on top of that, like, Entei is at 100, but Entei doesn't really count as a base 100 because you almost always want to run Adamant. So then I've got, this guy at 95, and then this basically, I worked out the math. It's like basically 86 is its base speed if you ignore the fact that it can run Jolly. If you only assume Adamant nature, that's basically what it is. And what I mean by that is, like, take a mon like Excadrill, for example. Or no, I think the example I wanted to use was like Hitmonlee. So Hitmonlee with a Jolly nature hits 300 speed. And so basically only mons between base 87 and base 94 can afford to run Adamant / Modest Natures versus me. Because they're almost all going to want to outspeed the Adamant Entei. So that's nice. It gives me a pretty good distribution of speed tiers. Let's put this back to Entei. So yeah, like, I feel like with the addition of Swellow and all these changes, my team is a hell of a lot faster and more offensive than it was before. Like, I felt like I had to play defensive with my team every week, and it just wasn't good at doing that, which was annoying. With a team now, I've got a lot of good lures for, like, it's got a lot of Volt Turn action. Things like Scizor, Whimsicott, Swellow all lure in Steel types, which are easily dealt with by Zygarde and Entei and Pangoro, which is really nice. I've got good hazard options. I've now got T-Spikes. I've got Spikes. I've got more Rock Setters than I had before, or like an equal number of Rock Setters. Not really sure. I guess it's only 2 Rockers. For some reason, I thought I had a third, but I digress. I've got really good Trick Room options now. Nihilego, Reuniclus, and Whimsicott all learn Trick Room. And I've got, like, even more setup. Like, just the Reuniclus, the Scizor, the Zygarde, all are great setup mons. And you also have to mention the Shell Smash Cloyster, which is, definitely scary in the right matchup. So overall, I just feel like the team's a whole lot more solid. It fits my playstyle a lot more. It allows me to be more offensive in my builds. And it gives me a lot more options, too. I think it's just a much more diverse team than what I had before. And hopefully it puts me into a position to make a comeback this season. Even if I don't, like, make playoffs, it's whatever. I just want to, like, show good games and, let everyone know that I'm not a walkover. I'm not a free win each week. I know I'm not. Like, I'm obviously doing very well in P4G, and I'm pretty happy about that. And I've done well in this league in multiple seasons in the past. But, it's Pokemon is a what have you done for me lately kind of league. That's kind of the way it is. And, just look at, I hate to, like, name drop or whatever, but people will probably say, like, oh, well, A-Drive was, he's a top battler in GBA for so long, and then as soon as he started losing, he quit, and, like, so people don't really want to, like, watch A-Drive anymore, or, they want to talk smack about A-Drive. Like, I'm not saying that that's how I feel. I think A-Drive's still plenty talented. He's shown that in other leagues. But, it's just, like, an example of, people, like, instantly forget anything that you've accomplished if you start losing. So that's why I don't want to be a walkover for anyone in this league. So, anyway, that is going to do it. I'll figure out what my Cloyster nickname was, and I have to come up with a nickname for Swellow. But I'll probably like name it Cooper or something like that, because for me, Swellow is always going to be associated with Cooper Koshiro, in the way that he used it briefly in GBA Season 7. I love the way that he edited that the GIF of Swellow. Let me see if I can find it and show it to you guys. Obviously we're, like, spending forever on this. It doesn't matter. Like, maybe I'll edit it in or something. But anyway, do want to thank you guys for watching and enduring the long video. Hope you enjoyed it for the most part. Yeah, there's gonna be more action next week, of course. I'm not sure who my opponent is, but I'll tell you guys next week. Make sure you stay tuned to find out. And make sure you check back to the channel for other gaming Pokemon content. So until the next time, I'll see you guys later.